Before you begin building your website, there's some things that you need to do in order to plan for what is going to be on your website. And we call this the 7 steps to building a website. Building a website should be a calculated and carefully planned venture. Significant hours of planning, research, and preparation must be invested before any work on the computer begins. The first thing that you have to do is you have to determine the problem and define the purpose or the goal. And typically when you create a website, it's for some type of a client, sometimes it's for yourself, but you still have to decide what the needs of the client are, whether it's you or whether it's someone else. So a common problem might be that the client isn't getting enough new business coming through their doors. So the goal of the website would be to gain new customers and to encourage repeat business of existing customers through the use of the website. The second thing you have to do is gather information and do the research. Find out as much information as you can about the business and what its goals are by doing in-depth interviews about all aspects of the business. Maybe even take a tour of the business and identify and understand the target audience. The target audience is simply referring to who is it that the client wants to do business with, okay? So if you're doing a website for the clothing store Justice, you know that you're targeting a younger female audience, or maybe even the mother set because they're the ones that need to buy it for their young girls. If you are doing something about hunting, maybe there's a hunting store that wants a website. Well, you're probably doing a website for primarily males. Not that females can't hunt, but you know, it's primarily, okay? So you have to know who your target audience is. The third step is to shape the solution, determine the content, and then storyboard the site. You heard the term storyboard with the video so that you knew what to do. Well, you have to do the same thing with a website. And that means that there's basically two things to it. Number one, you already have to know how many pages, what pages you're going to create, and you need to know the basic layout of what your website is going to look like, which includes colors, fonts, where the images go, where the logos go on, where the navigation is going, etc. So after doing the research, you would pose a solution to your client that would showcase the facilities, inform people of products, services, location, etc. Whatever has to do with the goals. How are you going to meet the goals? Then you'll have to determine the content for the site. What images are going to be used? Do they already have a logo, or do you need to create a logo? What technologies are going to be used? Is it going to be a simple static web page, or are you going to need to have some sort of database driving it in the background? There's lots of different options as far as the technologies that need to be used. And then, of course, the planning out of the site. The storyboard, which is where you sketch the layout, the colors, the fonts, and then the site map, which shows all the pages, and the site hierarchy. And the hierarchy simply is referring to the different levels, okay? So at the top level of this hierarchy would be the home page. The second one would be all the buttons that are on the main navigation, the About Us, the Contact Us, the products, the services, that sort of thing. And then sometimes you have to have subpages as well, and that would be the next level of the hierarchy. Next step is to gather the assets. This includes the collecting of all of the information and images that will go on the website. Typically you want to do this before you actually get started because you may have to adjust your storyboard or sitemap depending on the assets that are given to you or that you develop yourself. Now, depending on who the client is, sometimes they give you all of this information. Other times the web designer is responsible for creating it. Obviously, you in this class, you're going to be creating them. Things that could be included would be images of the business, the design images, and then of course all the information or content, which is the written text, which needs to be written well. Then you construct the site. Keeping the purpose of the site in mind, construct a website based upon the information developed and gathered and the storyboard and the site map that you devised. You don't want to stray from that, because once you have spoken with the client about what you're doing and they've approved it, you need to stick with the plan. Then, of course, after you create it, you need to test your site and improve it. Test it, improve it, and that goes on and on until it's ready for it to go live. So as you work on the website, you should test every page in multiple browsers to ensure that all the links work, include all the images, and make sure they have alternate text, which is something that you'll see when we get into Dreamweaver, and make sure that the layout is consistent, because remember, consistency breeds familiarity with our websites. Carefully review the site to see if any improvements can be made and ask opinions. Check for grammar, spelling, capitalization, and punctuation on each page. Now, when you get into Dreamweaver, it does have a spell check for each page, but you still have to read through everything to make sure that it makes sense. And of course, you also have to review it with your client and make changes based on what they want. You can tell them, I really think that this is best, but if they say, no, I really want that purple background, then you have to go with it. You've tried to steer them in the right direction, but ultimately the client's wants win. And then finally, you have to publicize the site. After the site goes live, and that means that it's actually on the web, you need to discuss with your client the various ways that you could publicize the site in order to bring more traffic to it. The biggest thing right now, and there's even degree plans designed towards this, and it's search engine optimization. And basically it is methods to get your to get your website noticed in search engines such as Google. Other ways to promote your site would be to add the link or the URL to business cards and stationery, publicize it with some newspaper or magazine ads, radio and TV commercials, and then you can also get website advertisements that are on other sites that can link to yours.